right now, here in the studio, we are joined by a very, very special guest.
What a break! What a fantastic maximum break that is! Ronnie O'Sullivan's delighted.
I played all right. Yeah, I'm all right. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
The last man standing at the Crucible once again is Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah, why not? Let's have a bit of the jungle.
Snooker's greatest showman, Ronnie O'Sullivan, is in seventh heaven.
Yes, joining us now, it is snooker and sporting royalty, and I'm just going to reel off what you've won, if that's all right. 7-time world champion, 8-time British champion, 8-time Masters champion, 23 times a Triple Crown title winner, and 41 ranking final wins as well. It's none other than Ronnie O'Sullivan, who is here in the studio with us now. How are you, Ronnie?
Yeah, I'm
Good morning, Ronnie.
Yeah, how you doing?
Have I missed anything off that list?
I don't think so. They've probably overdone it there. They've probably egged it up a bit.
No. You've had, your career has just been absolutely marvellous. Of course it has. And you're here with us today because your book is out in a paperback version now. And I'm just going to hold it up to the cameras because we are streaming on YouTube. It is Ronnie O'Sullivan's Unbreakable. Just tell us what it was like to put this all together, writing your story.
I've enjoyed doing all the books that I've done. You know, it's the third autobiography I've done now, and I've enjoyed every one of them. You know, everyone's been different. I really enjoyed it working with Tom, who's a great writer, a bit of a perfectionist, so he drove me mad at times. I was like, can we just leave it there? And he's like, no, I want to get it right. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But no, listen, it's a book and people are buying it to read it, so we put a lot of work into it, you know, and so hopefully people enjoy reading it.
I want to ask you what it's like when you are, you know, writing a book about yourself. Is there some things that you're like, oh, should I put that in? And
how
scared
honest
to
can you
put
be?
it
Well,
in
you put a lot of stuff in and then you reread and you think, oh, that's not good, you know. So,
Take that part out.
People don't need to know that.
there's a lot of like thinking when you read stuff back, you think, oh, did I really say that? Oh no, let's just change that because, you know, sometimes you can be a bit too honest, I suppose, and people don't need to hear some of that stuff. So you can kind of.
But it's also kind of like a cathartic process that you can get a lot of stuff out. Whether you eventually include it is one thing, you know, can be another thing. But
I don't really know. I think the first one I done was because I spoke a lot about my dad and all that sort of stuff. So that felt quite brutal at times. I'd come away and think, you know, I'm not sure I really want to keep going over that sort of stuff. But the last two books have been quite fun and enjoyable in a way, Maybe.
But in a different way, because like you say, the first one might be a bit more revealing from your dad's perspective.
Yeah.
But when you've done now, as you say, your third book, it's maybe just a different way of looking at your life.
Do you know what? The second and the second one was about running and how important that was in my life, and how that's such a positive thing. And I think it's great for everybody to have health and fitness in their life, just for your mind and whatever it is, just to make you feel better. And this one was just about, you know, all the stuff that I've learned over the years. So it was more a positive one, whereas the first one was just dark times maybe, and coming out the other end of it and all that sort of stuff, and still a young man.
That can inspire people though.
Yeah,
you're reading that and you're honest in your book, and like you said, dark times, that can inspire a lot of people reading it. Yeah,
some of the best comments I've had is like, I'll be doing an exhibition and you meet someone that's read your book and go, you know what, I'm 8 years clean now because of reading your book. And I was like, you know what, and that's probably the best thing I've had from any of my books, is when someone comes up to me and said they've got clean, you know. That's because going through addictions can be hard for a lot of people. Of course, and they read a book and they kind of go, I'm not going crazy, I'm not mad. They pick up the phone, they go to NA or AA, and they're 8 years clean. I'm like, I'm so happy that guy is where he is now because he's read my book, you know. So that means just that one comment was worth all of it.
Do you sort of think in a way that the world, the way we are right now, we're in a better place, but where we can talk about those kind of issues and you can write about it, and therefore, as you say, people can learn off it. People can suddenly go, well, Ronnie O'Sullivan's had his problems and he's come through it.
Yeah, I think we've all got problems, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And if people can talk about it and people can take stuff from it and find a positive and make that their life can get better for it, then I think it's good, you know.
I like the fact that you've done that though, because we've all been through things in our life, and like I've been through things that I'd be like, I've never written a book, but if I did, I'd be like, do people have to know that? Or you're a bit scared to say what's really happened in your life, what you've been through. But the honesty is so important.
Yeah.
Everyone is reading it, they're like, wow, that's what he went through, and he's come through that. Yeah. The outstanding career he's had. Yeah. After what he's been through, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think for me, snooker is always. I've never been scared to bare my soul, because I've always had faith in my ability. So I've never thought if I let this out, maybe it's going to affect my career. People know what I'm going through. I've always thought no matter what I'm going through, I know what I'm capable of, and I've never been. So it's never really bothered me. I've always backed myself in that way. So, like letting people know I'm in bits on the floor, I'm like, well, you can know that. I'm still, but I still fancy myself when I get on the table. So, do you know what I'm saying?
Well, we have always seen that honesty from you.
My job, you know.
You have always been very open and honest.
Yeah,
you know.
I think my dad kind of. I used to be a good liar when I was a kid, and I used to think I was getting away with it. My dad was like, I hate liars. So I think I've become too honest in a way because of that.
But your career has been so incredible. Do you ever sit back sometimes and think like, wow, what I've achieved, outstanding?
Yeah, I think as I get like this stage in my career, you know, I look back and I'm proud of what I've achieved. You know, worked hard, put a lot of hard work in. So yeah, I'm pleased. Yeah, and I think I appreciate it more now because I'm obviously not as good as I feel like I was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So you appreciate, you know, where you probably was at, and I probably took it. You know what? If I could have my time again, I wouldn't take it for granted. I used to, I appreciate where I was, you know, and what I was doing more now than I ever have done, you know.
Well, hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it, at the end of the day? But you say this book is things that you've learned. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
So what kind of things can we learn from your book then about you?
I don't know, it's just, listen, everyone has, you know, I've done, you know, I went to rehab, so I learnt a lot through the 12 steps, and just kind of I realised happiness was an inside job. So it's kind of just finding a bit of contentment was the first step for me. And then obviously that was good for me. And then obviously I then met Steve Peters, who's a sports psychiatrist, and just learning how to sort of function during high pressure moments. You know, I wasn't very good at that. You know, I could win tournaments, but my emotions got the better of me. So working with Steve was really important. And then obviously the running and the fitness that I kind of got into. And I just think I've just put all that together and found my own little way of navigating my way through my sport, you know, because it can be quite high pressured, and it's just like, how do I manage it, you know? And I think all these little things that I've learned along the way has helped me just be a bit more steady in my approach, and just being able to enjoy your career a bit more and not get beaten down by the pressure, which a lot of people can, no matter what job you're in and what life you're in. We all feel pressures, and sometimes the pressure can get to you and can not be good for you, you know?
It can control you in a different way, can't it? Certainly. We've just had a text in, Ronnie. He says, you've inspired me to get through a dark patch and make some change.
Lovely.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that's lovely. That the impact you can make. Look, Ronnie, you're going to stick around for another part of the show, and we'll take a break. And when we return, we're going to talk more about you and your career and everything. But also, if anyone has any questions, this is a great opportunity for our listeners to text in 81089. Give us a question that you want us to ask Ronnie, and we'll do that in a few minutes, right back here on talkSPORT Breakfast. Hey, I'm Natalie Sawyer, and with me, it's Gabby Agbonlahor. Enjoying yourself, Gabby?
I am, with a legend. It's
with
nice to have a legend in the studio.
We will certainly return to
Sporting
Ronnie
legend.
O'Sullivan in just a moment, but just to let you also know what's coming your way this Monday morning. Manchester United fans, we do want to hear from you. Is it time for Eric Ten Hag to go, and should Sir Jim Ratcliffe take some responsibility as well? 03717 223344. That's the number to call us on, and you could be on the show. For former Spurs boss Harry Redknapp will join us a little bit later on to talk about the Tottenham side of things after that 3-0 win at Old Trafford, and Gabby will be telling us who is miles off it. But as I mentioned, let's return to snooker legend Ronnie O'Sullivan, who is still with us here in the studio. And Ronnie, just wanting to listen into a little clip from earlier this year, because Matchroom founder Barry Hearn joined Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent on Drive and spoke about the World Championships potentially leaving the Crucible.
We've got to be looking at another building in Sheffield, which we can name the Crucible, built with the same type of feel, but I think we need 2,500 to 3,000 seats to stand any chance of disregarding the type of offers we're getting from around the world. We've built this into a global event. A lot of people say to me, it can't be in the Crucible every year. Surely if it's the World Championship, it should go to Beijing one year, and it should go to Saudi another year, should go to Canvey Island. I don't know. We love the history that the Crucible's given us, but we have to live in the real world. And the real world in all sports comes down to money.
Okay, so we're talking maybe about the evolution of snooker. And first of all, let's get your thoughts on snooker as a sport and where it's at right now. I mean, has it been left in the cold for a long time, do you think? It's missing out on some of these sports that maybe are coming through and getting more high profile, let's say?
I don't know. I think snooker in the 80s and 90s was quite big, and then it's sort of like other sports kind of took over. But no, I think snooker's doing all right.
Yeah,
I think it's in a good place. Yeah.
Still in a good place. But does it need to move the World Championship?
Now, listen, if it makes sense, like we play some tournaments in China, and we just played in Saudi Arabia, and the players loved it there. They got treated really well. They got looked after really well, and so yeah. I mean, listen, it can move about. I don't see no reason why it shouldn't.
So you're not a traditionalist in a way that thinks it should remain
I'm a snooker player, and I think, as a player, you just want to feel like, you get taken care of when you're at tournaments. Is it a nice environment? You're enjoying the event. The playing side of it, you got to play wherever you go. It's all the other little bits, and I just think sometimes, when we go abroad, they do make a bit more of an effort with the events, with the players. They make it a bit more, just a lot easier, really. But listen. The Crucible's a great venue. It's been fantastic over the years. So wherever they take it, I'm sure they'll do a good job.
I was going to just say that, like the history of the Crucible. How sad will that be for snooker players that have played there for many years? For that to say go and you move somewhere else where you've got 3,000 capacity.
Yeah, I don't know. The Crucible is a great, and you can always have an event at the Crucible. You can, like you say, you can take it like they do with the golf. They move it around to different venues. So I don't see why you can't do the Crucible one year and some other venues another year. So you don't have to say goodbye to the Crucible.
Yes.
But it's a great event, great venue to play at. But it's not the best venue to play at in my book. There's other venues that are better. So I think sometimes, a lot of people go, Highbury, it's never going to be the same. But the Emirates is,
true.
You just have to move on sometimes.
Move with the times.
I know people don't like it, but at some point you have to, I suppose.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I was talking about the sort of maybe. Forgive me for saying this. Jazzing up snooker.
Oh, jazzing up, yeah. Need jazzing up. Yeah, you're right. All the jazzing up we can get.
Some people have suggested it. I don't know who these some people are. I'm just being told that maybe to make it more attractive for younger viewers. Yeah, shall we say? I mean, do you see a lot of youngsters still coming to the snooker? And do you think snooker still grabs the attention of young people, and that it will continue to?
In the UK, it's a lot older crowd, but in China, they're very young. In Saudi Arabia, they have a very young crowd watching it. So I don't know why that is. I don't know. But I think it's always been that in the UK. A lot of the older people just love snooker. But I don't know why that is. I really don't have a clue. I think when snooker's up against football and tennis and golf, when you're a parent, you're looking at like, what should I get my kid involved in? Snooker's going to come really down the bottom of the list, I would imagine. You want them to be either a Formula One driver.
So you're not saying that we should do like in darts that they have the I was going to say ring walk, but that's not right. Like the walk down up to the oche. Shouldn't have a little walk around the table with a little music going off or anything like that.
I'd probably definitely retire if this system had to do some of that. I'd be like, I'm out of here now.
But actually, talking about you then and your future, where are you at with it all?
I like playing in China. I like playing in Saudi Arabia. So yeah, I'll probably be spending more time playing in them events and doing my exhibitions and stuff out there. Yeah. I just like being out there, So any excuse to get me out there is. So I'll spend most of my time out there if I can.
I suppose with snooker, there's no like age that you get to. You think, I've got to stop now. You can keep going.
You can, but it depends where you're at with it. Like Stephen Hendry, I don't think because he was such a winner that when he wasn't winning, he found it really difficult. And I think Steve Davis was the same. Jimmy White seems to be like, I don't really care about winning and losing. I just love the game. So if you love the sport and you love it, then obviously. But if it's important to you that you're winning and competing at the top end of the game, as you get older, inevitably, these youngsters come along, and they're really fantastic players. They're like. So it's hard, for some of the older established players to keep going in many ways because these youngsters are very, very good.
We've got a question here. Do you still think you're the best in the world?
No, definitely not.
Who is then, in your eyes?
I'd say at the moment, definitely Judd Trump. He's so consistent, winning a lot of tournaments. He's going deep in pretty much every event he plays in. For me, he's out there on his own at the moment.
We've had so many questions in, so we're just going to have to go in with them, aren't
go
we?
For it.
This one, for example, let's go back to your early age. George from Bexley Heath is saying, at what age did you know you were going to be a special player?
I don't know if I'd ever felt I was going to be a special player. There was a time where I thought, I felt really like no matter who I play, I've got a chance. And that was when I was about 12. It just clicked overnight for me. I don't know. I think that someone said it happened with John Higgins. Like, they watched him play one day and they thought, oh, he's not very good. And then a few months later, he come in the club and he was just beating everybody. And I think there's a moment in everybody's career where you just flick the switch and you kind of go from being an okay player to a brilliant player. And for me, that was when I was 12. And since then, I've just kind of just loved playing, I suppose. But never thought I was a special player. There's lots of special players out there, really. There's much more players that are better talented than me, more.
But what was the turning point then for you to suddenly think, I can make a career in this?
Do you know what? I never even... I just loved being at the snooker club, even if I didn't make money from it or it wasn't a job. I just enjoyed being at the club with the lads. It was a good environment to be. It's always good stories. It's just a fun place to be. So for me, even if I didn't make it as a snooker player, I thought I'd just get a job as a manager in a snooker club, get a bit of free time and just have a laugh with the lads. I just like being at the club.
Well, that was one of the questions we had, actually. If you weren't a snooker player, it's Marcus from Manchester, what would you have been? You would have been involved in snooker halls, whatever.
Probably managing the snooker club, yeah.
It's a difficult one to answer, though, when
it's impossible, isn't it? They
come through it as you have done. Lots of people are also asking about the sort of highlights and lowlights, shall we say, of your career, if you're able to share the lowest and highlights, as I say.
I don't think I've lowlights. I don't think it's just been experiences, really. I suppose the worst period for me was when I was just before I went into rehab, because obviously I was sort of partying a lot and I got addicted to certain things, and that was a hard time for me. But other than that, everything's just been a good experience, really. Even the bad times, you just get through it. Nobody's life's gonna be perfect,
We've spoken, obviously, and you've mentioned, obviously, about the issues that you've had to deal with away from snooker. And something that, Gabby, you would be able to, being a part of a team, you've got teammates to rely on, whereas as a snooker player, you're very much an individual. And this is a sort of question that Mark has asked, Coxie, he says. As it's an individual sport, do you actually get to support each other in some ways? When, even though it's an individual sport, can you still rely on each other to help you through things? Or you've got to have your own separate support network?
No, you're pretty much on your own, really. But you have your own friends. And I always thought, that was one thing I really envied about being in a single sport. You watch people playing football, you think, you got that camaraderie, you got people behind you. But I'm sure even in your team sport, then there's different type of pressures where you think, I'm going to let my teammates down, whereas me, I'm not letting anybody down. I'm just letting myself. I want to get beat. I think, right, I'm going to get beat and go at my mates. Whereas if you start doing that, your mates are going to be like, you're letting us down. And so every sport has its own sort of pressures in a way. And in some ways, I have to motivate myself, but then I can take time out and not play for a year if I don't want to. If you went to your boss at Aston Villa and said, I'm having a year out, it'd be like, you're not.
Sometimes you say, no problem, because I've been that bad. He'd say,
he could get substituted.
Exactly.
You can't really do that with yourself.
I wanted to ask you, though, like when in every sport you get frustrated when sometimes you've not had the best of games, or you've had a bad shot. How do you control that when you're playing snooker?
Very hard,
I think that snooker cue would be like bent in half.
I've smashed a few cues. I've smashed a few cues in frustration. But I think like when I worked with Steve Peters, he kind of helped me kind of work out what was going on. So I'm better at sort of handling it. But I've just accepted. I only enjoy snooker when I'm playing well. If I'm not playing well, then I don't like it, but I still feel like I have to find a way of getting through them tough moments. But I don't enjoy it, whereas some players, they don't care if they're playing well or bad. They love it, they just get through it, and I just think, I don't know how they do that. But me, I'm a bit bipolar in that way. If I'm playing well, I'm buzzing. If I'm playing terrible, I'm on the floor, I'm not a happy person. So for me, if I'm playing well, it's a great sport. If I'm playing terrible, I hate it, It's not even about winning or losing, though. I wish it was more about just winning and losing. If I could just go, I won, it was a victory. I lost, I'm down. For me, it's just about performance. I'm really into the performance. If I get beat and I felt like I've played a good game, I come off and I think, I really enjoyed that, So it's strange, really.
Look, we could be chatting and chatting for hours, because honestly, I've never seen so many questions come flooding through, and we haven't got through half of them. They've been wonderful, our listeners, as always. The last question really is, what's next then? Where should we be looking out for you next? You mentioned the Far East. So you're going back out there?
Yeah, I think I'll go back out to China in November. So I'll be out there for a couple of weeks. And that's about it, really. I don't know what I'm doing in between or after that. Just
Man of leisure.
You said you liked China, didn't you?
Yeah, I love it out there. I love the food. I love everything out there. It's just an easy life. So I like it there. It's good.
Lovely.
Just a quick one, and it's a nice message. But it's Mike from Fulham who's just gone. Okay. Respectfully, Ronnie, you're talking nonsense. He is the best there's ever been.
Oh, right, cheers. Thank you very much.
Nice?
Cheers.
You're very humble. It's just like, yeah, right. I'm like, maybe I am. Listen, as I mentioned, your book Unbreakable out now in paperback version for those that are tuning in on YouTube. That's the Ronnie O'Sullivan book. Thank you very much. Best of luck with that as well.
Thank you, Ronnie.
And great to have you with us.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.